Hi, my name is Roberta and I'm the founder of Ethical Brand Directory, and today I'd like to welcome Oisin Collishe, who is the founder of Oisin, who is a member of Ethical Brand Directory. So Oisin is a gender-neutral t-shirt company that values minimalist aesthetics inspired by architecture, ethics and sustainability in equal measures. So welcome, Oisin.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, pretty good, thank you.
Excellent. So, Oisin, did you want to elaborate a little bit on the description of your company, or did I articulate that well enough for you? Or was there more you'd like to add?
No, so that was pretty good. So it is focusing on designing as many elements as possible. So definitely through architecture, and just being inspired all around by kind of not just what happens in fashion, but across the board.
Amazing.
Good work.
Okay, great. So obviously this is a short interview series, and I've got some questions for you. So the first one that I'd like to ask is, what experience prompted you to start your business or come up with your brand and do things differently?
So the experience for me was a bit more personal than kind of going out and finding something. It was more so a case that say growing up, I loved design in all areas, and fashion kind of being a big one of those, a big creative outlet. But I kind of also grew up with that ethical kind of upbringing. So where, like I say, in my family, we'd focus on kind of your impact, whether it's like the food on the table, kind of where that comes from, and kind of the overall process of that, or whether it's how you treat people day to day from all walks of life. So that was a big kind of philosophy for me growing up. And the more I got into fashion, the more I found that that wasn't really a focal point in so many brands. So I thought for me, it'd be nice. I still wanted to get into fashion. I still wanted to do that. But I kind of wanted to bring more of like that upbringing. So more from where I came from, and something that was a bit kinder, a bit more considerate. So that was like a big reason why I wanted to set up Oisin.
Amazing, that's a really nice bit of backstory. Thank you for sharing. So I think this might be a short answer, but you never know. You might surprise me. But what's the story behind your brand name?
It definitely is pretty simple, like Oisin is me. The interesting thing, but actually you may not even know yourself, is like when I was setting up, something I don't talk about is that obviously when you come up with brand names, you have all these ideas. A big one for me was looking into ancient Greek kind of philosophy. So I was looking to the likes of Plato, Aristotle, things like that, and I thought, these are brilliant, these really tie in. I love the way this kind of the philosophy of that name, and I thought amazing. Then obviously, as you know, I kind of came away from that, and I thought it's just not complete. It makes sense, it's got a lot of what I'm about, but it's not complete there. So then I came back to me and I was like, well, actually it makes more sense just to kind of bring exactly who I am as an extension of me, bring that to the brand and let that represent exactly what I'm about. So
Great, brilliant. So it is very much a personal brand.
Yeah, for sure. Like, as I say, it's that extension of me. It's kind of what I wanted to do when creating this brand, is have something that promoted my values more than I can do on a day-to-day basis, promote it in another way. So that was it.
Amazing. I'm so glad I asked the question. Okay, so what does ethical mean to you? I mean, you touched on that a little bit when you were talking about your experiences, but what does ethical mean to you, and how does that manifest in your business? So how can a customer identify with that?
So to me, ethics as a concept is pretty simple. It's just considering as many things as possible, if not the whole process, the whole thing. And to me, how I see ethics practically, more pragmatically, is by looking at kind of my process, what's involved in it, and asking kind of key questions at every stage. So say like, okay, at this part of the process, who's affected, how are they affected, and the way they're being treated here, just simply kind of would that align with my values, and if I was in their position, would I be happy? And it's as simple as that. And that's kind of like it's such an easy process just to do that and to stick at it with conviction. And even beyond kind of us as people, kind of the environment and say like the wildlife, kind of how that's affected. So not even just the people who are helping me build the top, so that with kind of all the skill and craft that goes into that, but kind of to the likes of the dye that's used, to the materials, to the crop, how it's harvested, the whole process. It's looking into it and it's trying to understand how I can be as friendly as possible every stage and try not to miss out anything. So it's just really that consideration across the board. So for me, a big way I practically did this was through visiting the factory. So ethically being aware as kind of honestly as possible, not just phoning up and not just kind of accepting, okay, they sound good over email or anything, but kind of actually going there in person, talking to the workers, talking to people all across the board. So yeah, that's kind of how I did it.
That's really good, and thank you for sharing the practical examples of what ethics means to you and how that manifests in your business. Great, okay, well you kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'm sure that you can elaborate further. As you know, sustainability is a popular topic at the moment, trending, almost a bit of a buzzword, but it can mean so many things. So can you break it down and tell us what you're doing to embed sustainability within your business? I know that you're a small brand, so it's probably a little bit easier to explain what you're doing and how those values are core to sustainability.
Yeah, so for me at the moment it's pretty easy enough. It's just the fact of focusing on the materials that I use. At the moment I'm using materials that are either organic cotton for the t-shirt itself and for the labels as well, kind of all across board, and even into the thread. I'm kind of looking at the whole picture where I can. So stuff that kind of uses less water and makes less of an impact. Then also looking at kind of, say, the packaging where I can. So say I've got recycled elements that I focused on. So even with the swing tags, I didn't kind of just want to use standard card. I wanted to try and incorporate as much of a sustainable role within that. So I've made that out of recycled FSC approved card. So yeah, kind of the whole thing, and obviously where it's made plays a big part in that. So you could kind of make this all credibly sustainable and then make it as far away as China, say. But I kind of know that defeats the purpose maybe a bit. So also focusing on making it within Europe in somewhere that doesn't make it too inaccessible for people in terms of price maybe, but makes it still valuable enough with regards to that sustainability aspect. So yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So whilst not necessarily made made in the UK or made in Britain, but sort of local values like our European brothers and sisters is kind of important to you as well. Yeah,
definitely. It's just being as I said earlier, like being pragmatic. So you can't do things perfectly, and I think we've even talked about that before. Like you can't. I don't know if you ever get to that stage of being perfect, but you try and aim for that.
Yeah.
Don't you? Like you, as long as that's the intention, that's the goal. I think you're kind of doing a big part. You're playing a big part in trying to help out where you can. So that's what I'm kind of trying to do with Oisin.
Brilliant, thank you. That was really lovely to hear your views on that. Okay, so another couple of questions, then I can promise you can go. I've got just two left. So in 2015, the United Nations released the Sustainable Development Goals. They've actually taken quite a few years to catch on. So not everybody has been working actively towards them. But could you tell me how the framework has helped you shape your business and what goals you're focused on right now?
Yeah, definitely. So with their goals, there's obviously all of them are pretty inspiring when you look through, but there's a few that are particularly relevant for me in the fashion industry. So one of them being like water usage, trying to lower that. So that's a simple one for me at the moment, because what that involves is using materials, especially focusing on them, the ones that don't require as much water as, say, traditional or standard materials. So organic cotton's an amazing example, as you probably know. And with organic compared to standard, you use up to 90% less water. So it's simple switch, well, maybe not simple, but it's kind of switches like that you can incorporate, and then you end up using far less water when you make the whole batch of products. So it makes a huge difference. So that's a big one, water consumption, and I'll continue with that through even future projects. So it won't always be organic cotton, but it might be hemp, it might be linen, it might be recycled wherever possible. So yeah, that's one. And then other goals would be the likes of, say, recycled materials, so trying to use that more. So as I say earlier, obviously with my swing tag, I use recycled card and that, and I'd love to use more recycled, even say fabrics, so say recycled cotton and such. So that's a big one. And then there's, what else was it? Stand up for human rights. So a huge one. Obviously in terms of ethics, that's pretty pinnacle. So for me, visiting the factory, keeping in contact, keeping in the loop, making sure I'm not unaware of stuff is huge for at least doing my part within standing up for human rights. And yeah, just maybe where possible, getting a third-party credibility check so that it's just as legitimately propped up as possible. And then the last one would definitely be the stand up for global warming. So stopping that happening, because obviously being sustainable, that's kind of what it's about. So obviously doing that through materials and all sorts as discussed. So yeah.
Amazing, brilliant. Thank you so much for breaking it down and showing us how that reflects within your business. Perfect. So last question. And then you can go, and then you're off the hot seat. So this is just a bit one of a flip now. Like, as a consumer, can you tell me what you're looking for when you're shopping for things?
Yeah, definitely. So as a consumer, when I come to buy stuff on the other end, I always try and, well, I've always, even before I got massively focused on sustainability in the sense I am now, I would always focus on clothing that lasts like a longer time, kind of have better durability, just better longevity as a whole, because it just makes more sense in such a number of ways. So even before you get into materials and maybe if it's organic, if it's recycled, it's how long does it last? How long will you want to keep it? Of course, as a stylist, like you'll know, that's crazy important. Like if someone yeah, like if someone wants something for maybe this year, but then it goes out the next window, then it's pretty pointless. So I've always focused on that. And then now that I'm obviously getting even more into sustainability, I'm really finding out loads about it. I'm realizing that actually it's beyond just getting, say, clothing that is sustainable in itself. It's about looking more to the brand that's selling the product. So because you can, I'm not just saying that even just as a brand that sells that, but as a genuine kind of consumer thought, it's about where you place your money. That is, I mean, there's a really nice quote that kind of says that where you place your money is kind of your ability to create the world that you want. So that's exactly what I do now. I look into brands that actually really align with kind of what I like, more than just that aesthetic, but in the values. And yeah, I buy from them.
Brilliant. So I guess a platform like, say, I don't know, Ethical Brand Directory, where you can browse based by your values, could be quite handy.
You got it.